Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donahue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donahue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. We've got a spooky real-life horror tale to tell today. We are the podcast that talk about creeps from the past to the present. This is a present-day creep. They call this the real-life Wolf Creek. I know. We'll get into that. In the meantime, you can find us wherever on social media. We do have a basic Facebook page. Don't even bother trying to write to us there, though. We don't really interact. That's just a place where people go to complain about our language. Yes, we use salty language in this program.
Yeah, fucking deal with it.
Or your kids need to deal with it. Just grow up. One day they'll live in New York and they're cursing all the time.
That's true.
We're
fucking walking here.
Walking here. Oh my God. Can we have older references like between us?
I was like, I don't get it. But okay.
We are much more interactive in our Facebook group. We have a private Facebook group. You do have to ask to join and answer a couple of questions. One of them being just promise not to be a creep when you're in there. So please follow us there if y'all hang out in Facebook at all. We're on Twitter at CreepPod because somebody had What a Creep for 10 years and never used it on Twitter.
Creep.
We're also on Threads, and are we on Blue Sky on What a Creep?
We are going to be. I got some invite codes.
We're also on Instagram, What a Creep Podcast, and we have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. You can send us your suggestions for creeps and for non-creeps. Also, if you would like some stickers, send us your address, and wherever you are on the planet Earth, including Salt Creek, Australia. I would love that, by the way. If you are from there, let us know. I will send you some stickers. I'm sure that'd be very valuable where you are.
Right.
So you want to tell them about the website real quick?
Yes, you can go to whatacreeppodcast.com, and it's everything you ever want to know about our podcast, but we're afraid to ask. We have links to all of our past episodes, and you can click into those and see all of our show notes because we source every single thing we do. We're not making this up, and we want to give credit to the reporters, the writers that did all the dirty work. So if you're looking for a deeper dive on any of our creeps, that's a great place to start. We also have a link to our Substack if you would like our monthly newsletter. It is free. Enjoy. I even write a horoscope.
Ooh.
It's very fun. There's a link to our merch shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and face masks and all the good things that you want with our logo on it and some other little fun things that we've put in there that you can slap a logo on. And there's a link to our Patreon page. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
Yes, Patreon. We have our first 8 seasons on the Patreon wall. 8! Lots of creepage there. If y'all are interested, you also get 2 bonus episodes a month where Sonia and I riff about creeps going on in the world and the news, all that good stuff. So we want to say thank you to Gina, Sarah Beth, and Twyla. I called her Twizzler last week for some reason.
Twizzlers.
Twizzlers are good, man. Thank you all so much for joining us. But
Thank you.
If money is tight, we understand that. If you can leave us a review wherever you get your podcast, a good review would be really sweet.
Yeah, it helps us find our peeps.
It does. So I'd like to thank Kerry PFM and Steph D43 for leaving us 5-star reviews last week, and also to Jen for leaving us a review in Spotify.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Okay, Sonia, are you ready for today's episode? It's creepy.
I am ready. You told me not to read anything about it, so this will be the first time I'm hearing any of this. I am ready. I dare you to scare me.
Well, let me start off. Have you seen the movie Wolf Creek?
I haven't, but it's on my list. It was recently recommended to me by one of my Aussie friends. But I want to wait until after we recorded this to watch it.
Well, first I want to ask you.
Yes.
Have you ever traveled alone anywhere?
No, because I'm always meeting somebody where I might get on a plane alone, but I'm meeting somebody. So
right.
No, I have not.
It sounds kind of terrifying to me, but I have actually done it. It took me a while to realize, like, oh yeah, I did the same thing. I did like that backpacking through Europe thing. I mean, except I had a little small suitcase because I'm not carrying a backpack. It's just not how I go.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work, but I have done it before, and it can feel isolating, especially if you're in a country where you don't speak the language.
Right.
You know, got a little lonesome sometimes, but I actually really enjoyed it. But I do understand there's the travel Margot and then there's the Brooklyn Margot.
Yeah.
And travel Margot is a little more relaxed, more easygoing. I'm pretty go with the flow, try new things, that kind of thing. And
I depend on the kindness of strangers.
Yeah.
By the way, to like point you in the right direction for things or recommend places to go or eat, assuming they're maybe they translate something for you and you're trusting them that they're being honest with you. Yeah, absolutely.
And you can meet great people. I mean, you meet your people, your kind of people. They're curious. They want to see the world. Australia is one of those places that's on my bucket list. I definitely want to check it out one day. My brother lived there for a few years, and everybody always says, "You didn't go visit?" I'm like, "No, I didn't have the money or the time because it's a schlep to go from America there."
It's very far from the United States. It's a very long flight. It's on my list as well.
Well, today we're going to be talking about a real-life creepy story that took place in... I'm going to fuck up the accent. I'm going to try not to, but I can't help myself. I got to attempt it. It's all those below deck down unders that I've been watching. Australia. This takes place in 2016. 2016 was a fucked up year for a lot of reasons.
Fact.
So we have two backpackers traveling through Australia who team up to check out the Salt Creek region of South Australia through Gumtree. Do you know what Gumtree is?
I don't.
What that is, it's kind of a Craigslist for ride shares. For travelers. So you go someplace and let's say you're in Adelaide and you want to go to Melbourne. You would meet up with another person like, hey, we want to go from Adelaide to Melbourne, which is about an 8-hour drive. You know, you hang out with other people, blah, blah, blah. What these two women didn't know was the person that answered their ad was a 6'6" man who agreed to drive them there, but decided to stop along the Coorong Beach. It's Coorong. And he was a violent offender who preyed on women looking for adventure. This is a story about creep Roman Hines and the resiliency of two women who survived his attacks. They did survive it, by the way. Just keep that in mind. And helped put this loser to prison. Send him to prison.
Fuck this guy.
Fuck him. Seriously. The sources for this episode, once again, all these are in our show notes. triplem.com, The Guardian, mamamia.com, New Zealand Herald, 60 Minutes Australia. That's my new obsession. The Adelaide Advertiser, Thought Catalog, Salt Creek Wikipedia, Huffington Post. There's also a couple of Wikipedia pages for the New South Wales backpack murders. And Ivan Milat, who cares? He's a piece of shit who died. We'll get to him. Trigger warnings, kidnapping, sexual assault, and rape. It's an intense one, y'all.
Okay.
So just like I said, this is a true story. Be careful to yourselves. Okay.
Yes.
Some tidbits about Australia in case y'all didn't know. It's the 6th largest country by total area. It's mostly on coastal regions that are heavily populated, and then there's all kinds of like outback that's not as sparsely populated. There's all kinds. There's a biodiversity of the wildlife. There's also a diversity of peoples. There's lots of caves. There's a lot of creepy stuff that happens because there's just a lot of creepy places where people can go and no one will ever know.
Right. Have you seen footage of like the spiders people will find in their houses in Australia?
I'm going to say no because I really don't like spiders.
Horrifying. It's the kind of shit that keeps me up at night. I'm like, no. Or snakes, I think is another one. I'm like, fuck no.
I like seeing the kangaroo videos that beat the shit out of people. Like, I don't know why. I'm just like team kangaroo.
I know. Look, I don't know. I've never been to Australia But I was like, to them, I was like, kangaroos are like whatever, right? Like they're like, man, kangaroos, whatever. They're like rats to them or something. And I'm like, they're adorable. Oh, they're so cute.
Anything that looks like it can box me, I don't want to get involved with.
No, not at all. Certainly are cute though.
Yes, they are adorable. And koala bears, extra adorable.
Yeah, so cute. Also, apparently very grumpy.
Yeah, yeah. Coorong is a locality in the Australian state of South Australia. It's southeast of the state capital of Adelaide, and the principal land use of this area is basically conservation. A while ago, people thought maybe you could mine for oil there, and then they quickly found out, nope.
Okay.
And this place, it's so sparsely populated. The population of Coorong, which is where Salt Creek is 58 people.
Ooh, okay.
So we're talking, like, just picture in your head a place that's very sparse and it's incredibly beautiful.
Yes.
We're in February when this story takes place, which is their summer, the tail end of their summer.
Right. Okay.
Which is always a thing. Like when I see Christmas pictures and it's people in bikinis, I'm always like, what the hell is that all about?
Yeah, the company I work for, we have offices all over the world, and we have a Melbourne office. I always forget their season is the opposite because I'm an asshole American that assumes everybody's season's the same. They're like, not really. No, that's not a thing, Sonia. It's like, it's the opposite.
Now I want to talk about Wolf Creek. That is a 2005 Australian horror film by Greg McLean, and it is based on true events. There were real life. There's backpacking is a culture. It's like climbing. You know, there's certain things that people do that I don't do. You know, you go on the road to meet people, but you also go on the road to be with yourself, that kind of thing, which is an amazing thing, but at the same time can lead you open to psychopaths. And, you know, it just can.
Exactly.
Right. You know, people's like, I don't want to live in the city. Like, I don't want to live out there in the outback. That would terrify me. There were backpacking murders that took place in New South Wales. It's described as serial killings. It was between 1989 and 1993. The people were between 19 and 22. There is one person was convicted of it. His name was Ivan. It's Milat, Malat. I don't know how you would say that in Melbourne. He always denied that it was him. He said, I didn't kill anybody, but you know, he was sent to jail and he died of cancer at the age of 74. So we're going to talk about our two backpackers today. One is from Germany, the other is from Brazil. I'm going to call them the letters B and the letter L. Just B and L. I know they've given their names, but I'd rather not. I'd rather just put it that way. They've told their story, like I said, and we have the links are there. This is February of 2016. They're both 23 years old, and they meet up in Adelaide. And for both of them, it was a dream to go around Melbourne. The Brazilian woman had a new boyfriend she was just meeting in person for the first time, like somebody she was interested in. So she goes from Brazil to Australia to meet him, but she's also there to travel. Elle is from Germany, and Elle had been in Australia for about 4 months. And this is like how big Australia is. Like you can take 4 months traveling all across the place and not get everywhere. So they heard about a place called the Great Ocean Road, and they were, I wrote in my notes, keen to check it out. And once again, also I want to apologize because I'm trying my best to learn between kilometers and feet and miles and things like that. I'm a dumb American. We're assholes and idiots. We're the worst. We're the worst. We don't have the metric system. We don't put the dates down the way y'all do it. Like y'all do it day, then month, then year. And we do month and day then year. Yep. We make everything difficult. So sorry about that. Great Ocean Road is according to Wikipedia, an Australian National Heritage listed 240-kilometer stretch of road. That's 151 miles. It was constructed in 1922 and it opened in 1932. Once again, they're keen to check it out. They're in Adelaide at a youth hostel or a traveling hostel, and they go to the Gumtree website. And they set up a ride with a guy that looks about their age. And then he has to cancel at the last minute. So they find this other dude. And he seems, and they're talking via text back and forth. And he seems a little gruff. Like, are you going to go or are you not going to go? Because these women are trying to decide, we've never met this person. Is he going to be trustworthy? It's an 8-hour drive. It's a long time. I drove a couple of years ago for a wedding. I drove from Brooklyn to Chicago. And the people I traveled with, and it's so lucky we didn't beat the crap out of each other because by the end of that weekend, we were tired. It was 14 hours one way. Yeah.
It's a long time in a car.
It's a long time, but if you're backpacking, you're used to it. You figure out, how to deal with your downtime.
Right.
So these women meet Roman Hines. Once again, he's 6'6". He's 59 years old. He's got this handlebar. He's swarthy, and he has this handlebar mustache. And he seems kind of gruff, but they're like, well, he says he'll pay for the gas, and it's just a day in a car with him. 8 hours in a car is not the end of the world, right? If you're
like, at the end of it, we'll have a story to tell about this asshole we got to ride with.
Yeah, Roman, what a weirdo he was.
Yeah. Remember that guy? What a dick.
What a dick, but he was nice enough to drive us. And it's a nice car, a nice big 4-wheel drive. On their way from Adelaide to Melbourne, Hines all of a sudden says, he's pointing things out to them. And they actually, nowadays we have videos of people like with their captors because sometimes, you just have your phone out. You don't understand that something terrible is going to happen.
Yeah.
He's showing them the sights. And that's when he says, oh, you know what? And Melbourne is actually a little more inland. He goes more towards the coast and then says, hey, we should stay here for the night. It's this Australian beach, and it's called Salt Creek. I love this place. It's great for fishing. Let's hang out. And he's got all of his camping gear. Now, I want to say, FYI, Salt Creek is not great for camping. It's good for fishing. It's great for fishing, but the weather changes super quickly. It causes the beach to flood and then recede. And then it has very sharp sand that can cut your feet. You have to wear shoes.
Oh, I hate that.
There is one, I called it a bodega, but there's one like 7-Eleven. There's one shop because there's 58 people in the town.
Like a tiny little quickie mart.
A quickie mart with an Australian guy. You buy your cigarettes and your gasoline and your this and your that. But that's the one place you can go.
When celebrities screw up, are you the person who immediately texts your friends about it?
Does your family routinely rewind TV shows because you scream irrationally loud at missing plot points?
Are you genuinely mad at Ariana Grande for dating married men, but not mad enough to change your plan to take off from work the day Wicked comes out?
If you answered yes to any of these questions,
or are even friends with someone who would,
then Fixing Famous People is literally the podcast for you.
I'm Krista Rosa.
And I'm Dominic Pupa.
Fixing Famous People is the podcast where we, two veteran reality television producers, unpack the biggest celebrity scandals dominating entertainment news
and our lives. Every week we attempt to fix a new celebrity client by analyzing their missteps and each pitching a solution to return them to glory.
With a slew of hilarious guests and hotter than hot takes, Fixing Famous People is here to transform the reputations of the stars who are clearly not just like us.
You can find Fixing Famous People literally anywhere you find podcasts.
This also, it gets very dark at night when you're there if you don't have like powerful enough bulbs, lanterns and shit. Also, the waves are so loud when they crash that your voice won't travel more than 50 meters.
Wow.
So it's remote. The shit's remote. It's the first time they start to, have some concerns. Like, what are we going to do? But they can't do anything. They're parked. He's taking their gear out. And he's like, let's set up some dinner. We'll, drink a little bit. We'll have some fun. So Elle was very tired, the German. She's 5 feet tall, by the way. Mm-hmm. And this man's 6'6".
Yeah.
And B is like in between them. Elle's like, I'm going to take a nap. Y'all go for a walk. And he says to B, would you like to see a kangaroo? I could show you where they have kangaroos. And she's like, yeah, I'm from Brazil. I've never seen a kangaroo. Let's go. So they start walking over, and he takes her behind a sand dune. There's no kangaroo there. There's no animals there. He grabs her from behind, and he pushes her in the sand. She then realizes that he has a knife. He's got rope. And he says to her, I'm in charge now. And she starts to fight him And she's like, he's trying to put the rope around her arms, and he starts hitting her and beating her.
God, that's absolutely terrifying.
And he says to her, "You make this easier, I'm going to break your arm." So he binds her up, he cuts her bikini off with the knife, and he starts to attack her, slapping her and stuff, and trying to get her to obey him. And she's fighting back. So finally she gets this image in her head. I'm going to die here. My poor mother's going to have to come from Brazil.
Oh my gosh.
So I got to figure my way out of this. So that's when she says, "Dude, you know what? You don't have to work this hard. We'll both have sex with you. Let's go back to the campground. Let's go back to the car. We'll have some wine and we'll chill out." And he's like, "Oh, okay." So he walks with her back to the 4-wheel drive, and Elle is asleep. That's when B starts screaming, "He's got a knife. He's crazy. You know, we got to get out of here." Elle is getting her bag, and she's trying to, she realizes, like, that sounds terrible, right? She's like she's waking up and getting her shit together. And as soon as she gets out of the car, he grabs her, and it turns out he also had a hammer on him.
Jesus.
So he starts hitting her in the head with the hammer. She gets away from him, and she runs over, and that's when she notices her friend is not only naked, but she's got her hands and feet bound. Like, she's like hoppling along behind this guy. So she gets those loose from her, and then he starts chasing after them, and that's when the girls decide to split up.
Okay.
So they're on this beach. B hides in the sand dunes, and Elle just starts booking it. She's running.
Okay.
She's, like I said, 5 feet tall.
She's so little.
And he's chasing after her, and that's when he goes into his car. Elle is running.
Yeah.
The space between her footprints were 4 feet apart. Like, she was booking.
Yes.
She's in sheer terror.
I can't even imagine. That must have been so fucking scary.
Her head's bleeding.
Yes.
Her friend is naked and terrified. They're out in the middle of freaking nowhere. That's a population, 58 people in the town. The closest police station, by the way, 2 hours away.
Jesus.
Which they don't know at the time. But anyway, so she's running around and he's trying to run her over. And then she gets the idea, I'm going to go to the sand dunes, and he's going to get himself stuck. Mm-hmm. So she goes to the sand dunes. He gets stuck, and she gets the idea. Then she's like, well, what do I do now? So she gets the idea, I'm going to climb on top of the truck, and I'm going to hold on. And for some reason, he can't reach her. It's a big, big truck.
Oh.
So then he gets into the truck, and he starts driving around trying to shake her off the truck.
Yeah.
She's holding on to the bonnet. He can't get to the roof, and he starts driving and driving and driving, and he's like trying to shake her off, and he keeps going, and she just holds on for dear life.
This is so scary.
I know, right? This is true. Finally, he's starting to get weary of this, because they're just going back and forth in the sand. And finally, he stops the car. He gets out of the car, and he says, look, I'll leave you alone. He says, can you just stop? I can't drive anymore. Whatever. Come off the roof.
Being a fucking psycho is so tiring. Call a timeout.
She says, okay, I'll come off the truck, but you have to throw away your weapons. So he's got the hammer and the knife and a shovel. So he throws them away. And then she's like, my head's bleeding. Give me back my hat. She had a baseball hat. So he gives her hat back so that way she can keep the cut. Meanwhile, she doesn't know what's going on with her friend, B.
Right.
So B ran in the opposite direction, and then B notices a new car coming out. And it turns out it's these 2 teenage boys that were fishing for the day. And it was the end of the day, and they were going to drive home. And she ran over and she waved them down. And they picked her up, and she jumps in the car. She's screaming. She's bloody. She's terrified. And she says, you have to help my friend. That man is trying to kill my friend. So they start driving. The men give her clothes to cover herself. And they're like, we need to go to because we need to call the police. She goes, first, you need to help me find my friend. and they
Right.
couldn't find her. So they said, we'll take you to this local bodega roadhouse
Yeah.
kind of place. They'll take care of you there. We'll go back and look for her. So they take her to that place. And then the guys there start getting the call out like, there's women, they're stuck, they're being trapped on this beach. We got to help them. So these men are coming from the town, driving
Yes.
around, looking for them. And they also call the police,
Who are 2 hours away.
who are 2 hours away.
That's so scary.
They finally are able to find them. The girls are sent to the hospital, obviously, and they find Roman, and he just gives up easily. He's like, fine, what are you going to do?
Oh, so tired from all that being a
Killing.
psych-
So they arrest him, and then the next day it becomes this big story that because it's like a real life Wolf Creek. Wolf Creek, by the way, is about backpackers that get attacked by somebody when they're traveling. And this is what happened to these women. And it was so sad because B thought that L would be mad at her. She put her into the situation by saying we should try this app.
Yeah.
Let's, and she was like, no, this is not your fault. This is nobody's.
No.
Yeah.
It's the guy's fault.
It's always
Fuck
the
this guy,
guy's
Cam.
fault. Yeah, so fuck this guy. Turns out that he has been very abusive to the women in his life before. He was married twice, father of 5, seemed to like very aggressive pornography, and he often would hang out on Gumtree looking for young single backpackers. He collected violent pornography, like I said. He just looked for his opportunity. And it
Right.
turns out that there were several backpackers before that talked about a weird guy that gave them the creeps. One of them was a woman who was sexually assaulted just the summer before.
Oh my gosh.
There's also a woman from Japan who managed to get away from him, but she posted pictures of him online to try to scare people away from him. Anyway,
This is terrifying.
also it turns out that a month before this happened, which was in January 2016, one of his former partners, he beat and raped her and tied her to the bed. So this guy is a real piece of shit, is my
Fuck
point.
This guy.
They go to court. He's tried for kidnapping,
Yeah.
rape, attempted murder. They don't convict him for the rape of his former partner. They say there's too many extenuating circumstances. It's heartbreaking because when this woman talks about it, obviously, he doesn't also for attempted murder. Like, what did you think he was going to do with that, with the knife and the hammer? I mean, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Did he
But-
plead guilty, or was he
They
like,
had a
"Nah."
trial. No, he tried to plead innocent. He tried to make it seem like they were partying, and it got out of hand.
Fuck this guy.
He gets jailed, and it's for 22 years. A few years later, about a year later, the two women decided to give their interview to 60 Minutes. And the 60 Minutes interview is about 30 minutes long. And you have to see it for yourselves. They do reenactments. And what these women went through is just so horrifying. And of course, like once they had to go back to Australia to give testimony,
Yeah.
it
oh
was
my God.
re-traumatizing.
That's it's so awful. Those poor women.
But they're okay.
That's good.
The one that's from Germany, she kept traveling. She just kept
Wow.
yeah.
That's really brave.
And the other one moved back to Sao Paulo, which is ironic because that's not exactly the safest city in the world. But she just knows it because she grew up there.
Yeah.
And she's still with the boyfriend.
Oh.
This was as of like 2018, so I don't know if they're still together or not. But at that point, she said, I don't like to go out after dark. I don't like to be in areas where I don't know people and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I bet.
We've talked about this sort of thing before, and then someone was injured or this thing happened to them, but they're okay. It's like, well, they're probably not like okay, right? Like,
Right.
these women are changed for the rest of their lives. They have to deal with this really fucked up thing that happened to them, and I can't even imagine like how hard it must be to like know that things like this happen, You know, like we know it. You're telling me a story and I know it, but for it to like happen to you, I can't even imagine how much that traumatizes you and fucks you up.
It's your boundaries that get messed with. You question your own judgment.
Yeah.
But I have to like make it clear, they lived. They banded together, they helped each other, and there were a lot of men there that helped them out. Supposedly there were off-duty police officers that were there on the beach and they were fishing, but they weren't especially helpful, and the judge made a point of saying that they were not helpful at all. I can't find anything else about it, like what exactly they fucked up. But I want to say everybody that was at the Roadhouse and all the men that were fishing, they all went into action.
Good.
To protect them. And that's our tale today. It's the true story of the Salt Creek kidnappings.
Good job, my friend.
It's scary.
This might impact my sleep tonight.
I know. I've had the craziest dreams. You know, Sonia and I, for dorking out, we were also talking about The Exorcist. I'm reading Misery for the other show I work on. Yeah. I'm like, I'm kind of want like maybe Prom Night or something like that, or some Vincent Price or Abbott and Costello Meet the Frankenstein Monster. I mean, something like that to cleanse the palate.
You did a really good job.
Thank you.
I was like getting really nervous. People, we don't record video, so you don't get to watch me like making faces and biting my nails and like.
I was reading my script. I can't see her. Right, I'll bring her up again. But yeah.
Do you want to hear about some people who aren't creeps?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me get up my script. So, I want to talk about these 3 women who are known as the Cleveland kidnapping victims. There was, between 2002 and 2004, this fucking garbage man named Ariel Castro kidnapped 3 women. Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, Gina De Jesus. And this was in Cleveland, Ohio. And he kept them in his home, like chained together in his home for like over 10 years.
I remember. Oh my God.
It's so fucked up. So all these 3 women, they were like imprisoned in his home. And finally, like Amanda Berry, like actually, so she had a baby with him, by the way, too. She, by the way, the only one that was he assaulted them repeatedly, and some of them got pregnant and he would just beat them until they miscarried. It is absolutely awful. But this woman was actually like allowed to have her baby, so she escaped with her 6-year-old daughter, and then obviously went to the police, and the police rescued all of them. So this fucking garbage person was actually convicted of kidnapping and raping the women, and he was sentenced to life in prison, but he only lasted 1 month before he died by suicide. So, but since then, like the 3 women gone out and tried to use what happened to them to help other people. Mm-hmm. So that's why I want to mention them. So Michelle Knight changed her name. I won't say her name, but it's listed in like People magazine and stuff, but she changed her name. She wrote 2 memoirs, one called Life After Darkness and one called Finding Me. And she wrote about her trauma, her depression, her relationships. She eventually did get married. She met a man through like mutual friends. They got married. And she travels all over the world, like as a public speaker. She launched a foundation called Ray of Hope, and it supports like women and girls who are victims of domestic violence, human trafficking, child abuse. She's partnered with like a specialty coffee maker that's like in her area that showcases her artwork, and then they take the money from that and it goes to the foundation.
Nice.
It's really, really nice. She's also like super into fostering animals and raising money for animal rescue and things like that. And I was like, that's amazing. And then Amanda Berry actually hosts like a news segment on Cleveland's Fox 8 about missing people. And she's on there every week and showing pictures of like missing people. like over and over, not just like, here's the latest missing people. Like, it's constantly like showing the faces, like, so that people, they see it over and over and over, and they remember what these people look like. And she also was like, when I was being held, like, the news would be on and they weren't talking about us anymore, you know? And
Yes.
so she wants these people to know that we are still looking for you. So I think
man,
I'm
that's
like,
amazing.
fucking dope. Amanda, and then the next woman I'm going to talk about, Gina, they actually wrote a memoir together called Hope, a memoir of survival in Cleveland. She's raising the daughter that she delivered while in the home. She just celebrated her 16th birthday.
Oh my
And
God.
she threw her like a really large, like, sweet 16 party because she's like, that's something I wanted to do. She was the youngest.
Oh my God.
She was one of the youngest. She was just a teenager, you know, when he kidnapped her. So, and then the last woman is Gina De Jesus, and she works with a group called the Northeast Ohio Amber Alert Committee. Sorry. So when a child goes missing, the police in that area actually get like a victim's advocate and Gina. They pick her up and they go and they meet with families to like support them while they're searching for their
That's
missing
amazing.
children. Amazing. She launched a nonprofit called the Cleveland Family Center for Missing Children and Adults, and it's to help the families of people who are waiting to hear about their loved ones. She said that when she was missing, her family, they didn't have anything. You know, she's like, they didn't get any help. Like, there was no one to help them, like, print flyers and like,
my
you know,
God.
you feel so hopeless, like, and helpless, and you want to do things to help. And like, she's like, nobody helped them. They didn't have anybody. So her thing is that we are trying to help these people. So the center started in, I think they said 2018. And it's been helping families with missing children. They've worked with like 58 families
Oh my gosh.
total. And I was like, and it's upsetting to think that there are 58 families that they needed to work with. She also like travels with her family around the country to like train law enforcement people to like how to engage with families whose loved ones are missing.
Yeah.
So our three non-creeps are, I'm going to say their names again, Gina De Jesus, Amanda Berry, and Michelle Knight, who has changed her name. But those are our non-creeps.
That's amazing, Sonia. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We have to think of the good things that can come from it, the way people can help each other, and just being more aware. And
Yes.
yeah. Thank you so much. Once again, if y'all have ideas for creeps, and especially non-creeps, sometimes that's like the truly tough part for the
Yeah.
show, reach out to us on all those places I mentioned before and social media. Our email, once again, is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. We love it when you use the Annie Potts gift. We got one from Ghostbusters, but you could be clever and just do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, whatever you want.
We're easy breezy cover girl. If you would like some stickers, my Danny Pellegrino reference, stickers, once again, anywhere you are in the world, just send us your address and I will send them out to you. If you like the sound of our voices, we co-host a show called Dorking Out. And what are we dorking out about next, Sonia?
The Exorcist. It's, I mean, a classic for a reason.
It's classic for a reason. We had a really great conversation with a man, Nat Segaloff, who wrote a book about The Exorcist. It's in time for the 50th anniversary. You'll hear that interview at the end of our show. We were really psyched to talk to him. He had some good goss.
Yes, he was really, really fun to talk to.
He was such a nice man.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, and we just also talked about whatever happened to Baby Jane, and I
That was so fun.
And I just saw Sam Pancake, who's like one of my favorite podcast hosts, and he's an actor. He was in Palm Springs, and he was at a benefit, and he and Bruce Valanche dressed up as Blanche and Jane.
Yeah.
And they did readings from it.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's
it was
hilarious.
and I just saw it on Instagram and I was laughing so hard. So anyway, that's a fun episode too.
Amazing.
Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter, as long as that's there. Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, TikTok, Wherever you are, there I am. Where can people find you, Margot?
You could find me at Brooklyn Margot for TikTok, for Twitter, for for Blue Sky. And then for Threads and Instagram and my site, it's Brooklyn Fit Chick. Okay, y'all. In the meantime, stay safe, be good, happy Halloween. Don't be a creep.
Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.